What's up, everybody? We're back in the workshop. Gonna dive into the Traxxas Stampede, start getting that together. We also need to start thinking about battery and charger. So at some point, maybe in the next couple days, I'm gonna see if I can't dig out that old HPI that I was talking about. The Pro D clone that I got off of some Chinese website. And I need to take a look because, like I said before, I think I purchased a brushless motor and a brushless speed control combo. But this was before I still had no familiarity with brushless or LiPo, so I need to dig it out, see if I can't figure out if, you know, there's cross compatibility. I mean, back in the day, those motors were, I mean, they were all pretty much the same size. I think they had larger motors for monster trucks and stuff like that, but I mean, for the most part, a lot of that stuff was compatible. Might not say it's compatible on the sheet, but you can squeeze it in, you can make it work. So I'd like to take a look at that so that I know what charger and battery combo to get. I think Traxxas offers one. Looks pretty basic. Might be a good place to start, to be honest with you. That way I don't have to do a whole lot of research and I can get a battery in here and we can get this thing out and moving in the next day or two. So yeah, again, I'm just gonna jump into it. All right, skip the safety precautions, introduction, sure. Let's see, listen out the screws and the bearings. I've built enough things that I'm gonna go ahead and skip some of that information and just jump into it. All right, let's see. So it looks like the first thing we're gonna do is put the differential together and then the shock assembly. So let's grab our differential bag. Actually, let's clean this up a little bit. All right, so for starters, we're gonna start with the differential bag. Let's get that open. So we got our Traxxas lube. So this bag is saying Ziploc, but nope. Okay, so we got our Traxxas diff lube, 30K weight. Came with like a nozzle there, and what is this? Thrust bearing grease. Okay, just a tube, squeeze tube with thrust bearing grease. All right, so again, don't want to lose these. These are like little rubber O-rings, it looks like. Got our gears. And our bearings. Gonna spill them all over the place. All right, don't want to mix stuff up too much. So these gears feel really nice. I feel like they're cast. I don't know what that is. I'd just be making a guess. But they feel a little bit heavier than aluminum. Lubricate the shafts of the differential output gear with a drop of 30K differential oil before installing the X-ring. I mean, this 30K weight oil is like super thick. Okay, so we get the washer. And the X-ring. I don't know how far the X-ring is supposed to go. Okay, it kind of shows it there, so it's resting all the way up against the edge, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop that in there like so. Give it a little push ski. Cool. Now, spider gear assembly, we've got spider gears and a cross pin. It's been a while since I've worked with anything this size. Gotta get my fingers used to doing small stuff again. Okay. Looks like the gasket goes on top here, so this is just gonna slide in there. Nope. Come on, there we go. Okay. Might have put a little too much oil on there, but I don't know. Okay, so that slid right in there. So we got a differential gasket. It's got some holes to line up with. There we go. Fill the differential carrier halfway with included differential oil. Kind of difficult to see where halfway is. I think that's about halfway. That was a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be just because of the size of the nozzle. I guess I could trim that up, open it up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to do that again. Okay. Let that sit for a second. Lubricate the shaft of the differential output gear with a drop of 30K. So we've got two more shafts. Looks like we're lubricating it, and then we're just going to put the X-ring on there well before installing the X-ring. All right, and then it looks like we're going to put that in there. I'm going to do this one first. Okay, so put that on there. Line up the holes. Okay, now before I tighten those down any further, it looks like we're going to follow a tighten screws and a cross pattern. I'm going to call that one good. Okay, and then bearings, but we're going to go ahead and take care of this one. Those to the side there. Okay. Now we didn't use this thrust bearing grease yet. Didn't call for it. So I'm just going to set that to the side. Next, shock bag. Let's get this apart. Got our caps and spacers. Spring purchase, springs, So I'm gonna doubt that anything on this truck is gonna be as complicated as this shock oil bottle was to assemble. So if you can get that together, then you should be okay for the rest of it. All right, what else do we got? We're gonna cap that for now. All right, so let's get these shocks opened. We've got longer ones and shorter ones. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that the shorter ones go on the front and the longer ones go on the rear. I think that's typically how that goes. But yeah, these are for the most part assembled. So we're gonna unscrew the cap, fill with shock oil, 3 millimeters from the top, which looks like it comes right in line with that little collar there. Slowly move the piston to remove the excess air, then let it sit a few minutes until all the air bubbles are out, and then fill it within 1.5 millimeters. Add oil to reach the proper level. Ensure the piston is covered in oil to prevent pulling air into the shock, and then shaft should be fully compressed when the cap is installed. All right, so that was easy enough to do by hand. Looks like that kind of came out with it. Once I screw that on, it should be fine. Okay, so pull the piston out. Use my right hand. Don't know if that is, see how that came out like that? I've also got some shock fluid coming out around the side, so I don't know if I did that correctly. It rebounds. It's not very stiff, but I mean, that's the reason the spring is there. So I think ultimately you just want it to rebound. So I'm gonna call that good. Now let's get these springs on there. So shows the exploded view. You got the shock cap, the preload spacer, 8 millimeter preload spacers. So I'm assuming those are the, there's a little ruler down here. So these are the 8 millimeter preload spacers. These are collars, retainers. And I believe all of these are the same. The differences are with the preload spacers. Preload spacers for the front shocks only. So, and the front shocks are the shorter ones, like I said. So I'm gonna take my preload spacer, slide that on like that. Next, I'm gonna take the upper spring retainer, slide my spring on there, take a lower spring retainer and compress the spring a little bit with my hands and get that slid on there like so, and then just kind of align it. Okay, feels good, feels like a shock absorber. Now let's do that for the other ones. Done. Set those to the side. Okay, so we've jumped into it. We got our differentials constructed, and those went together pretty easily. And we got our shocks constructed. Those went together okay, I guess, but it does seem like they're going to be okay. And so that's going to do it for part 2 of this build. In part 3, we're going to go ahead and get started on our front module assembly. So it's going to be the front bulkheads. We're going to try and get a little bit more done on the next episode. Obviously we're off to a relatively slow start, but we're still having fun. So check back next week. We're going to get the front bulkhead and the front module assembly together, see how far we can get on that. Seems like there's quite a bit, but mostly screw stuff, so should go together pretty straightforward. Hopefully don't have to mess with too many fluids, although I do see apply a drop of grease, but a drop of grease is way better than having to fill anything up. So till next time,